And just like that, boom, it's Friday. Hello, I'm Russ Kane. I'm going to cough so badly in a minute. God almighty. It's Men's Radio Station. This is The Daily Show. It is indeed Friday. Somehow we've survived another week. Hurrah. You know him. You love him. Admire his beautiful new interior design at Casa Dave. Ladies and gentlemen, Phil Dave.
Oh, hi. Fancy seeing you here.
What a surprise. And we both got the moment to wear black. Now,
well,
big news. We've got a big subject.
I dare say, I hope it's not for it's not for my reason that you're wearing
No. Anyway. I always wear that. This is all I ever wear. I wear the same thing. Now, I do have a variety. I'm not wearing the same thing 12 months a year, obviously.
That's why we stopped doing things in the studio. I couldn't tolerate the smell. So
that's just so rude. I was going to be nice. I was going to be thoughtful. I was going to be caring, but screw that. Now, listen. Difficult subject, but one I think that would touch the hearts and minds of many is that this week you lost Carlo.
Yes.
And unexpectedly, Carlo, by the way, is, for those of you who are not part of the gang, don't know, is Phil's family's mini schnauzer. There's Monty and Carlo, and now there's only
They're
Monty.
miniature sausage dogs, but close enough.
Well, I call them not schnauzers. I mean Dachshunds. Sorry,
that's all right. That's quite okay. Don't worry about
it. At the moment, I've got a mini schnauzer staring at me because she thinks it's treat time. Every time is treat time. What I wanted to explore, because you kind of opened up the door, is that for those of us who have a dog, and that dog is the center of our universe, losing it is losing a member of the family. It's not like losing a member of the family. It is losing a member of the family. And you are, you're grief struck, and I get it.
Well, look, I can't deny that it is a very, very rough time at the moment, is the best way of putting it. And Asa, thank you very much indeed. Look, I think the most important thing is to say that I do understand when people who don't have pets don't quite get it. They don't understand why it is that you could be so badly affected by the loss of what is, in their eyes, quote unquote, just an animal. Well, let me tell you, not just an animal by any stretch of the imagination. More often than not, that just an animal is not only a massive part of your family, but is actually considerably nicer to you than most human beings are. And when you lose that consistency, when you lose that sort of that constant giver of love and affection in your life, it is very, very difficult to come to terms with, because the truth is they're just it's really strange, really, because it's a different kind of grieving to when you lose a relative. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, and just for the record, right, my mother is within earshot. She's not only watching it, she's actually here at my place with me today. She's sitting over in the living area.
Does she come around to clean twice a week, like we arranged?
Definitely not.
Okay.
But she... Oh, hang on a second. Now, hang on a second. Elizabeth says, my dog was called Monty, as in Monte Carlo. Well, that's why my dogs are called Monty and Carlo. It's okay and quite understand. That's amazing. I did not know that, Elizabeth. So there you go. So yeah, we had two dogs, Monty, who thank goodness we've still got, and Carlo is the one we lost this week. So we have Monty and Carlo. So there you go. But I can't explain how it just feels so different to when you lose a relative, because relatives, understandably, treat you differently. Dogs are companions who are just there no matter what. They don't argue with you. They don't make you angry. Well, I'll say they don't make you angry. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, when he used to sort of refuse to go out into the garden to go about his business, that didn't throw me too much.
Well, precisely. I've got this with Ebony, who has now decided that she likes weeing on my Chinese rug. Suddenly, at 13, she likes to wee. Boy, did we have a row last night. We had a row.
Oh dear. Yeah. So look, I mean, from that point of view, it is a bit, it's a bit much to deal with and a bit much to take in. And just the thought that to know that that's gone forever is very, very hard to come to terms with. However, I want to sort of talk specifically about how the grief has actually sort of made me feel, because I don't ever remember anyone really talking about this or ever saying this. Because, and even though, by the way, I should stress now, in case anyone wonders, we have lost pets before. So I don't want you thinking this is the first time I'm going through this. I'm sadly all too familiar what this is like and what to experience and what comes next. But I mean, it is just the price of having a pet, let's be honest. But no one ever talks about the sheer physical aching that you go through. Because for me, when I found out, I found out in the most hideous way. I heard that he was taken. I should say that Carlo had heart problems for the last year. He was on medication. And look, we got another year out of him with the medication. So for that, we've got to be grateful. But what happened is that we took him into the vet hospital on Monday evening. Oh, look at Ebony. We took him into the vet hospital on Monday evening, and they said that because he couldn't breathe properly, right? There's definitely something off with his breathing. He kept coughing, so we just were really worried about him. Took him in. After a few tests, it came out that he had some sort of degenerative valve in his heart. So one of the valves in his heart wasn't working properly, and as a result of it, it was putting extra strain. His blood pressure was through the roof, blah, blah, blah. They were hoping that medication would help, and unfortunately, it just didn't. So that's what happened. But I found out, the vet phoned me, because I was the contact number, at 10 to 2, Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. So 10 to 2 in the morning. Now, ordinarily, most people would obviously be asleep. I had just got to work. And so literally standing outside my office, I just got out of the cab. And that's when I received the phone call.
What, you were standing by the station, that bit where they drop in?
That bit there. Literally, that's where I got the phone call.
Where it's as windy as hell.
It's extraordinary how windy it
because
is.
Because where we go, I won't be
the buildings are so high.
After Monday, by the way. But where Phil goes.
You're not going anywhere.
Where Phil goes, it's right by the Shard. So you've got the Shard, and then you've got the huge News Court Tower as well, which is the second biggest tower. And the place just, wow, it's a wind tunnel. So it couldn't have been a worse setting if you tried, frankly.
Well, I was literally just about to go through the doors to work, and also to do stuff on air as well. Oh my God, seriously, it is amazing what.
How did you dig? You got to dig deep. You see, this is the thing which separates amateurs from professionals. And I'm sorry to say it. I know it sounds rude, but it's true. And you have a job to do, and you cannot start, crying on air and all the rest of it, because other people have their problems, and you're there to do a job, and that's all there is to it. Should we read this?
The truth is, we're taught from a very early stage. You park your problems at the door. It's just as simple as that. And no matter what those problems are, you've just got to do it.
On all of this, mental health in the workplace is all very marvelous. It's another conversation for another day. But when you're in broadcasting, different rules apply. Sorry, but they do. That's why you get paid. We're both disappear. This is from Ramsey. It's a speech. Morning, chap. Sorry to hear about your loss, Phil. My brother lost his dog last year and was bereft. I suggested he go out and get a new one, and he just couldn't contemplate it. Another friend lost her husky Mushka and told me in confidence and didn't post it on social media as she couldn't bear having to deal with the messages of condolences from friends. Interesting. She was particularly close as she nursed Mushka through her cancer. Oh, Jesus. Very sad.
So that's interesting that you say that, Ramsey, because I have to be honest, I did think twice about putting it on social media. I didn't like the idea of having to see all them, which, by the way, can I just say, I mean, I can't, you'd think I'd posted that Lassie had died. Honestly, the messages were unbelievable. It was just, we
wouldn't be so fussed if Lassie had died, because we don't know Lassie, but we love Monty and Carlo, and that's the endless messages. Now, this is interesting. This is coming in from southern Spain, and I want to explain why this is.
I was going to say, can I just say that very quickly to finish that particular bit off? Absolutely. Sure. I did think twice about putting it on social media because I didn't know how I would cope with reading all the messages, and sure enough, some of them have absolutely choked me. But at the same time, I thought
Did my
about
one
it.
help? Which just said, "Man up, grow a pair." Big boys
It's
don't
absolutely.
cry.
I took note of that one.
Yeah, that was
But
the
no,
one.
the reason why is because I thought to myself, well, if I don't, every time I see someone, and if there's an unfortunate moment where someone just says, "Oh, how Monty and Carlo," I'd have to explain it, and it would just be really awkward. So I just wanted it out there. I just wanted the news out there, knowing that people know what they know, and
I used to say I
do what
got
we've got to
so
do.
fed up when people hadn't followed what had happened to me. They go, "How's your wife?" And I said, well, still dead." This is from
Oh
Michael
God!
Well, frankly, if you don't know me well, what the hell are you asking
Wow.
me for, you idiot? Michael Verby, who went, this is absolutely true, went down to visit his sister Stacy for a week. Has now been there about 2 years in the south of Spain. Now, I knew Michael's dad, Malcolm Verby, very, very well. He was my father's best friend by pure chance. I only saw my father cry twice in his lifetime. I saw my dad cry once. And the reason this resonates is both occasions was as a result of losing pet dogs.
Wow.
1958, November, was the only time I saw my father cry, when the Cocker Spaniel got run over at night. Got run over.
Whoa!
And
Oh my
that
goodness
was the only
me!
time I ever saw my father show emotion, apart from being in a perpetually shitty mood. And that was the only time I ever saw him cry, when the
Wow.
dog got run over, and he came up to tell me, and I was a tiny kid. Can't say they told me in the most subtle of ways, but that was my father for you. So it's interesting that Malcolm, Michael's dad, my dad's best friend, it really gets to you. I mean, I got to tell you, when I read your news, as you know, because you and I have talked about it a lot, Ebony is now 13. She is the one constant in my life and center of my universe. And despite myself having an extensive family, but they come, they go, whatever, they got their own life. And well, they do. They got their own lives. They don't need me. They don't, they get to a stage, they don't need me. They're all grown up. And they're doing their own thing.
Don't ever think that they'll need you. They do need you.
Yeah, they need to borrow my car. That's what they need. And she's 13, so I am dreading losing her, because I don't know what I will do. I will feel bereft. So when I read your thing, boy, it hit hard. It hit hard,
I cannot deny, and this is one of the things I actually really wanted to focus on, was the way I felt, because I don't think anyone really covers this enough. No one talks about it. No one actually forewarns you. And it's not, I don't think it's the kind of thing that someone can forewarn you, because of course everyone's going to react differently. No one knows how they're going to react when they have to deal with anything in this world, especially grief. But for me, in particular, yesterday was, I'd rather not go into details why yesterday in particular was so rough, but let's just sort of say Carlo's now at rest. So for me yesterday, yeah, no, I know, but for me, the reason why that I wanted to talk about this is because I'd never actually sort of felt, or at least that's not true. I think I'd forgotten how I felt, because the last time we lost a dog was 2008. So it was quite a while ago. But actually, no, I lied. 2009, sorry, is when Basil died. But the way it makes you feel is positively horrendous. I mean, I felt like I'd shut down. Was the only way I can explain it. I could not clear my mind of anything, understandably so. There's just nothing else I could focus on. I don't think I heard much else. I don't think I could say much else. I just remember sort of sitting there. I was with my parents yesterday. We were all together. I remember sitting at the dinner table. I'm fairly sure I sort of heard my parents talking to me. I couldn't tell you what they said, because I wasn't really with it. I wasn't listening. I don't think I could listen, if I'm honest. I also just remember this sheer aching. It is the only way I can describe it is pure. I mean, talk about the expression.
It's a physical pain. It's a physical
talk
pain.
About the expression heartache. I now know where that comes from, because that's all I could do. It was just this, not pain in chest as if like a sort of tight chested or anything like that. It was just aching with grief. That's the only way to describe it. Constant, I'm just being honest, constant crying. Could not stop, literally. Even when I sort of thought I got a grip on it.
The last time I saw you do that, last time.
Yeah.
And, I'm sorry to bring you down on this, was the
know,
Soho whiskey.
I know they ran out of a certain whiskey.
And I said, Phil, it's your round. And the tears I had
It's
to
true.
call
I didn't take
George
that very
over.
well.
I said, George, forget it. Put it on my tab.
Yeah.
And George, being George, went, yes, I shall. He's an actor, but he runs the Soho Whiskey Club. I'm only making light because it rips me apart. It rips me apart. I mean, I know that, and people who don't have pets, you might think, God, the pair of you, you're pathetic. You know, it's not like a person. No, they're kind of nicer than
I
most
think
people.
it's worse.
You know
I
what? They're
genuinely think it's
nicer than
worse.
most people. They're
Yep,
nicer
definitely.
because they love you unconditionally. They're always thrilled to see you, and they just give love. You know, people are
So can
people, and most
I
of them
need to tell
suck.
you? Yeah,
Most people just suck.
totally. But I need to
They
tell you
always
that,
let you
and
down.
this is I'm doing this knowing full well my mother is within earshot of hearing what I'm about to say. But I don't think I was this bad when I lost my grandparents. Right?
I get that.
I truly don't
I get
remember
that.
being this broken by it. You know, I'm obviously I was very upset, but just I don't remember feeling like
Well,
this.
you were when you saw the will.
You know, stop it. Yesterday
Now,
when
here we got a few
I
messages coming in.
yeah,
It's called gallows humor, everybody. Emma Webb. Hi, Em. Russ, when it comes time for you to deal with this, with everything, don't, you won't be alone. No, Emma, with the best will in the world, as Phil will attest, I will be alone.
I promise you, I
I
can't explain it.
will be
Emma,
alone. I
it's
will.
such
I
a
know it's
wonderful
very
thing.
sweet of you, Emma. I'm not knocking you in the least. Please don't misunderstand. But I will be alone.
It's such a wonderful
And
thing
it'll
to
kill
say.
me.
No, no,
It's a
it is
beautiful
such a.
thing to say,
I
but
was going to
it'll
say it's such
kill
a
me.
wonderful thing to say. But can I just say that sort of what I think the problem is that you do feel alone. As I said, I think I put in a post yesterday. The only way I can explain it is that sort of, especially yesterday, less so today, but certainly yesterday, you feel so shrouded in it that I genuinely yesterday didn't ever think I'd feel happiness again. It's the only way I can explain it.
Yeah.
It's just you just have got such the most enormous dark cloud
Until
overhead.
you ran into Julia Hartley Brewer, and I thought, what was the problem? Elizabeth Green says, damn, you reminded Elizabeth Green calling in from Manhattan, New York, so good they named it 27 times. Damn, you reminded me, we had a fire in our God, you've had a life, Elizabeth. Jesus. I
Sorry
think
to
your
hear
life was
this.
written
Wow.
by Stephen King. Damn, you reminded me we had a
God.
fire in our family house, and our poodle died. Oh,
Gracious.
Christ.
Wow.
So we had no house, and the dog died. Coco, the black miniature poodle. My mother loved our dogs. Well, she didn't love much else, did she? Apart from Philip, and she didn't show
Wow.
much love around. Yes, from what you've told me, which are none of which I'm
Gracious.
repeating because it was told in confidence. Coming in from the northeastern United States, is this young Phil?
My family and I have a farm, says Asa Don Brown. It doesn't matter whether a close family pet or one of many creatures passes. There is always a sense of grief and loss. Absolutely. And you know what it is? I figure that the only way that to explain it is that because every animal, whether you believe it or not, I know there are people out there who are not animal lovers. I'm sorry, I'm sure this isn't a very interesting program for you, but just bear with us. But animals have personalities too.
Yeah.
Right? They have
They do.
their identity, they have their sense of character. And when that character and that personality goes forever, it's very hard to get your head around that you won't see that again. You know, and there are still times when when I told you Basil, our other dog, when he died in 2009, when
it
Basil
was 2008, 10 minutes ago, by the way.
No, I made a mistake. It was 2009. I remember
it. I listened to every word. People find that
he was
so
a millennium puppy. He was a millennium puppy. He was born in 2000. He was 8 years old, but he died in 2009.
That's nothing, is it? 8?
No, I know it was horrendous. Let's not go into that. But anyway, but when we lost Basil, even now, bearing in mind, like I said, that was 2009 that happened. It was March 2009 to be precise. When that happened, there are still times when I just think, oh, Basil would have done this, Basil would have done that. It's absolutely extraordinary how they just stay with you.
Well, when my big kids were little kids, we got a little puppy, and absolutely adored this dog. And then the dog got really ill, and I had to make the decision to put her down because she was that ill. It was one of the considering those of you who know my history, when I say it was one of the worst days in my life, that gives you some contextual understanding of how shit it was. And I went to the. I had to make the decision, so I gave myself some extra hours. I was in such a state that a complete stranger, a woman, came up to me in the street outside the vet. I think the vet was in Belsize Park at the time. And put her arms around me. I didn't know her, a complete stranger, and said, "Look, I can see you're in a terrible
Just
state.
shut up.
Just shut up, you bloody idiot. It's the dog," she said. "Get over it." No. She said, "Put the dog first. Don't think of what you want. Think of what's best for the dog. The dog's in pain. It's incurable. This is what you want." So it was ghastly. So I took her into the room and oh Christ, I can remember every single detail. Now, it was a long time ago. I have never, ever cried so much in my life. I was inconsolable because I felt terrible, but I wanted to be with her right, even though I'm welling up, right to the end. It was the only thing it was the thing to do. And she was the most wonderful. I'll tell you something weird. I had a medium round once, medium rare. Normally, I don't believe in this, and a lot of it's complete garbage. But occasionally, they get it right. There's an amazing.
I'm so pleased you said this. Right, we're going to move on to something else in just a second. Keep going with this
and
story.
Said to me, "You had a dog." Yeah, no, I've got no pictures of the dog. No pictures of the dog exist that anyone's ever seen. I said, "Oh yeah, always by your right knee." And I thought, Jesus, she always was by my right knee. And I said, "Oh really?
Wow.
Yeah, what dog was that?" And named a very specific, pretty rare dog straight off the bat. Didn't say, "Oh, it was like a poodle." So said, "Boom." Didn't even pause for breath. Said it was a boom, boom, boom. I went, "How the hell can anybody? You can't guess that."
Amazing.
For the 98%, which is I'm getting the letter P. Is anybody here from letter P? Letter P. Is it P? Is it P? Oh yeah, patula. That's what I meant. I mean, it's all crap, right? But the 2%, which is right, and there's a lady that I listen to a lot. She knows who she is. It's amazing when it's right. It's like, you can't guess that. That's incredible. How is that? All right, should we read this one from Tony Green?
Okay.
Would you care to read it? Do you want me to read it? You read
Thank you. Tony's been absolutely lovely. She's been messaging me on Facebook as well.
BBC
so thank you, Tony.
top announcer.
Well, quite. Tony says, "So sorry, Phil. I know how you feel, and I know you do, Tony. Truly, I do. When my first cat, Ruby, died, I went to collect her ashes and I was in pieces. The vet nurse said to me, many people say to her that losing a pet is much worse than losing any member of the family. But people just don't talk about it." Exactly. And so many people don't understand. As Russ said, that they just give love. There's nothing bad, but all people have good and bad. They give love unconditionally and want a little back. And it is so, so true.
Yeah,
and that's the problem. That's why it hurts. Well, they want a couple of biscuits back, but I'm not, I can live with that. That's fine. But so I just wanted to, Lee Durmford as well. Sorry, he's got this one.
Hi all, we have a cat. I never liked cats, you and me both. However, I buckled. Now I could not imagine life without her. She talks to me more than my kids. Lee, you're lucky.
I so miss having a cat.
Do you?
Oh yeah,
I don't get.
We used to have cats all the time. Love.
Don't get cats.
Yeah. Oh no. Honestly, I tell you, when we had one of our cats, Boney, when she Boney. When we lost Boney, and I can't remember the exact year that was, but I know it wasn't ages ago. Let's just say roughly 2015. Was it maybe 2015, 2016? No, actually, probably before then. But anyway, whenever it was we lost Boney, I was the one who took her to the vets at the end. And honestly, 3 days solid. Couldn't
Have I got two of you on my screen?
That's a good question. I don't.
I've got
I tell you why. No. I tell you why. No. There's a reason for that. Don't worry. That's coming up in just a second. Right now, the reason why there's two of me is because you were saying just now about mediums or what have you. Now, look, I'm not necessarily the biggest believer in signs and things like that. I believe it if I see it, and I sort of think to myself, it's nice, it's reassuring, but I don't necessarily go looking for them. I know some people go looking specifically. However, yesterday morning, I found myself in town because I had to go and drop some paperwork off somewhere where I don't normally go to. It was in the Park Lane area. And the reason why I say
thought you were still banned from that area.
No, the
For
ban was
something
lifted.
very unfortunate
Ban was
happened in
lifted
the
last
Aston
year.
Martin showroom.
Well, it's funny you say that. I wasn't far from the Aston Martin showroom. But anyway, I went to go and drop off some paperwork. Now, I went straight after work. And because I finish in the studios at around 6:30 in the morning, shock horror, there was still a bit of time to kill before the place I had to go and drop this off actually opened up. So actually, now, do you know what? Chantal Rickards has also just jumped online. And actually, I might be tempted to say, if we bring Chantal into the conversation as well. Hello, Chantal. How are you? So,
Hello, guys. Oh, I'm so sorry, Phil.
thank you. Well, thank you very much indeed. I really appreciate it. Don't worry. I'm hanging on in there. But the reason why I want to bring you into this as well is because that I'm not so sure until yesterday you could have believed me that there were signs out there that tell you things are going to be okay. But believe me, this has properly freaked me out now. So whilst I was waiting for this place to open up where I was going to drop the paperwork off, I went for a walk for about an hour or so, just around the back roads of Mayfair, just because
You were hanging about Shepherd's Market, and we all know why.
Yes, but the listener doesn't, so stop it. But anyway, as I was walking around, there was a shop that was under construction. I should explain to you that we adopted Carlo when he was 3 years old, and when we adopted him, he already had another name. His original name was George. And we decided that we were told that it's always kindest when you adopt a dog to give them a new name so they know it's a different environment and that it's also, and not to mention, we thought George was one of the most ridiculous names to give to a dog. So we didn't actually go with it. So we did. However, right? Keep in mind his original name was George. Keep in mind he was a sausage dog. Now have a look at this shop that I walked past yesterday morning, so less than 24 hours after the event. Just after 24 hours after the event had happened. No, less than 24 hours after the event had happened. Have a look at this.
No.
So look at George on the side, and have a look at the
corner
logo.
of Mount Street.
Yeah, but look at the logo.
That's the corner of where my cigar shop is. Yes.
Okay, and look at the
George's
logo.
Pub.
Yep, look at the logo. Is a sausage dog.
Is
right?
it?
So that was that.
My eyesight.
Okay,
Jesus. Yeah.
That was the first thing, right?
Yep. Okay.
As if that isn't freaky enough. Just up the road, 3 shops up. Okay, have a look at the name of this shop. Massimo Carlo.
No.
Okay. Right. So that was 3 doors up from that shop, from that where that George was. As if that wasn't freaky enough. Okay. I then continued to walk up this road, walk round the corner. Have a look now at the name of the road, or one of the roads round the corner from there. I don't know if you can see that. It says Carlos Place, but imagine it says
Place.
Carlos.
Yes, of course.
Carlos Place.
It's Carlos Place.
Absolutely bizarre. So those 3 signs, bearing in mind, I had no idea where I was going. I was just walking around aimlessly. I didn't know what I was doing there. I was just literally wandering around. And those 3 things all sort of within minutes of each other.
I tell you what's weird.
I was so freaked out from that.
And yesterday, I was walking along and I found a street and I thought, this is extraordinary. Your life is shit avenue. I was stunned. How did they know?
Look,
now
you can say what you want about signs and mediums and things like that. But
no,
that
it's
was
nice.
Carlos,
I love that area because that's near Mount Street where I go and see my now slim chum Lawrence, who runs Souters. Lawrence has lost half his body weight. He's lost over 12 stone.
Careless.
Yeah, down the back of the sofa. Listen to this before we get on to TV. Listen to this. Love Cat, says Andy Lucas, years ago. This is so terrible. I can't read it. I can't read it. Go on, read it.
Oh,
could you read it, Shanters? Can you see it?
Creepers.
I can't read. I'm never going to get through it. It's so bad. And I apologise to everyone, all 70,000 of you listening on Deluxe Radio. I'm so sorry.
Oh my God.
This is awful.
What it says
Even Phil can't read it, and he's way more professional. I can't read it out. I'm not going to get through it.
When my grandmother was alive, she had dementia, and I got home from school and discovered that she had gassed my cat. Oh my God.
Jesus.
How many years have I known you, Andy, and you've never told me that? My God.
Oh my
That's
God.
horrendous.
But apart from that,
that's not correct.
Holy moly. God, my mum
is
did some weird.
horrific.
My mum had 16 years of dementia, as everyone now knows, ad nauseam. She did some really back crazy things, but wow, holy
God.
God.
Sorry
Ramsey
about
says, Ramsey says, block your ears, Chantal, you're not old enough for this. My friend worked at a bank in Shepherd's Market. On a Friday, all the old boys would withdraw bundles of cash, and on Monday, the ladies would pay it all back in. And then back to Andy Lucas. Ignorant person asked why I was so upset. It was only a cat. I hope you punched them. I
She
nearly hit
says
her.
I nearly hit her.
I didn't hear that bit. I also saw my cat walking towards me a day or so later. Okay, I can go with that.
What?
I can go with that. We're getting told off by top psychotherapist. Russ, I know. But
Wow.
sometimes when things are so terrible, the only thing I can do is laugh, which is why I can't attend funerals. Because while everyone's the worse it is, the more my nerves kick in. And when my nerves kick in, I start to giggle.
Oh,
No.
It's
no,
utterly
no.
inappropriate. It is
Nerves are
inexcusable, but I
horrendous for
can't
giggling.
help it. That's my nervous thing.
It's absolutely awful, and it's so embarrassing. It always happens in
it's
the most
horrendous.
inopportune moments. Because there was,
It's
I
like-
just remember there was a time when I think we were out as a family for New Year's Eve, and we were around with some family friends, and they were explaining to me how one of their nieces or nephew, I think it was a nephew, right? One of their nephews had a condition which meant that they had basically no control over their toilet habits,
Oh,
and
God.
and as a result of it, I don't know. Well, I had to leave the room. I couldn't have that conversation. It was just so embarrassing because
It's awful.
I get really nervous when I hear stuff like that. So, but anyway,
it's
so-
horrendous. It's absolutely horrendous. I need a psychotherapist.
I know where I get it from though, because now as soon as I say that,
bet that's your mother. Your
my
mother's
mother's
laughing.
giggling
Your
in the
mother's
background
laughing.
on the sofa.
My dad
so-
would do that. We'd go to funerals, and my dad, not the most humorous of fellows, would start making the most ridiculous dad jokes to me in the funeral. I go, Pop,
No.
Pop. He says, well, the important thing is we're getting out of here. I went, I know we're getting out of here. He says, well, there you go. That was it. A man of few
right
words,
over
and
there,
all of
are
them
we?
hit home. Right, now, Chantal, may I save you 2 hours of your life? May I do that, please?
Happily, please do.
Chris Hemsworth, one of my favorite actors. I always think he's marvelous.
Bit of
And
beefcake.
and the other guy, oh God, help me out. He was in Whiplash, played the drummer, the young guy, the brilliant.
Paul Dano.
No,
If he was in Whiplash, maybe he was called Nicholas.
that was it, Nicholas. That's very, very good. That's very good. You know the guy. I mean,
The TJ thingy.
no, I can't remember. Anyway, the point is, there's a film called Spiderhead, which is on Netflix. Please don't bother. It's
Miles Teller.
Miles
Teller. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Two brilliant actors who absolutely do their best.
Yeah.
It's awful. It's just like you think,
Oh.
this is so lazy. It's so lame. We've seen this story 1,000 times. It tells
I'm now
us
quite
nothing
annoyed
new.
we wasted all that effort trying to think of his name.
No, Miles Teller's a fantastic. Only because if it was some rubbish actor, you go, yeah, okay. But Miles Teller's great.
Yeah, Whiplash
He's
was a
really good. He's really talented actor. And a film which
J.K.
surprised me, I
Simmons,
watched last night, and then I will shut up because we're handing over to the Screen Queen.
Oh.
Is that's you? Is oh Christ, what was it called? Day Shift with Jamie Foxx.
Please, you said that.
It's a kind of comedy action. It's not for you. It's not for you. But it's a
No?
comedy action. It's by the sort of team that did John Wick, and he's in LA and he fights vampires. You don't need to know anything else. And that's
Must
it.
have a
You
very
don't need to-
quiet life.
He's in LA. He fights vampires, and it's got Snoop Dogg in it. It was terrific. It was hilarious, and it's great.
That sounds a bit like my 5 years in Hollywood.
it's
French.
not. If you want to, it's
What,
everything
fighting
that you.
vampires?
It's every,
Yes.
it's not art, but boy, is it entertaining. It's really, really entertaining.
And it'll make a ton of money for somebody.
Well, it's kind of fun. We live in horrible, dark, ghastly times, and I wanted something that completely took me away from being in London with winter coming. So I was back in LA with all the palm trees. I know it doesn't appeal to you, but palm trees, blue skies. Come on, that was nice.
I know. Well, listen, we've only had about 2 weeks of the autumn so far. You can't be fed up yet.
I am.
I've got something very similar where I am. I've got some oak trees and grey skies. That's working for me.
That's
all
a
right.
nice thing. Can I just say something? And I hope you'll agree that the pair of you here, we don't plug other radio stations apart from Deluxe Radio, who've been very supportive to us, and David Wimble and the gang. And I certainly don't support Radio 2 particularly, apart from Ken Bruce, who's wonderful. But today's the last show by Steve Wright. Steve Wright in the afternoon. Steve Wright is just the most charming man in real life. He's a very charming, very nice man who loves his craft. And so I just want to say bravo to you, Steve Wright, because in the industry, you know, people can say what they like and outsiders can say what they like and ratings can say what they like. But he's a very nice guy and he loves radio. And that's it. He's not a TV star pretending he likes radio. He likes radio. And he's always been absolutely charming when I've gone over and said hello. Didn't have to be, but he was. He was very nice.
I'm sure he'll get snapped up by one of the other radio stations.
Virgin.
Right.
Drive time.
There we are then.
Couldn't say anything else. But there you go.
He'll
So
take
well done. Well done to him. He's you know, it's a very long run he's had, and good for him. Why not? There we are. I'm done.
Amazing.
I'm done.
Nice guy. Used to live in Henley-on-Thames. I had him on Through the Keyhole a million years ago. But he was charming and made us all a cup of tea. That's all I can remember.
Wow. You see? But isn't it interesting that you remember that? You remember that when people do nice things and they don't have to, you know? Indeed. It was interesting. I did panto with a Melinda Messenger at the height of her Melinda Messenger-ness. And I thought, I bet she's going to be up herself. I bet she wandered in for first day's rehearsals, which is a nerve-wracking experience on a Monday morning, and just beamed at us and said, hello, everybody. Can I make everyone a cup of tea? And I thought, I love this girl.
Oh, wonderful.
And she just went off to the kitchen in the rehearsal room, came back with a bloody great tray of tea. I thought, wow, she's so nice. What a nice girl she was. Right, there we are. That's enough.
I think I have some great advice for you as well, by the way, because it just suddenly come back to me. When we lost Basil back in 2009, okay, I remember that we were on the way back from, that was it, we were on the way back from Vegas, and the films they were showing in the plane, one of them was Marley and Me. Don't ever watch that after you've lost a dog. No. Not a good film to watch. It hurts.
Oh dear. And it's also not a very good movie, to be honest.
No, not really. Terrible.
Oh, yikes. Well, what a week. Well,
yes. But anyway, onwards and upwards.
Well, I'll try and give you a few ideas of things to take your mind off the sadness of the week. But I'm probably starting with actually quite a heavy documentary, but it is unbelievably brilliant. So what happens at this time of the year, if you're a BAFTA member like me, you start getting all the videos arriving on your computer. And you have to go onto the BAFTA site, you have to watch them, then you have to
vote on them, no?
That you've watched them. I normally take notes as well, especially if I think it's something that is in a sort of maybe, maybe not category. And actually, I watched a documentary yesterday that was unbelievable. That is one of the BAFTA-nominated films. And actually, I think I know where my vote is going to go. This is a particularly good documentary. And it's about Alexei Navalny, who most people will know is head of the Russian opposition party, who was poisoned with Novichok by persons unknown. That's certainly where the documentary starts. And it is an absolutely rattling 2-hour film where a crew were embedded with him during the complete time from the moment he started to come out of the coma when he had been poisoned. So you get quite a lot of his backstory. He's a lawyer. His lovely wife, Yulia, is in the film too, and his 2 beautiful kids, one daughter at Stanford and then a younger son. They're an absolutely remarkable family. They're good looking. He's obviously articulate and intelligent and a wonderful human being. And he basically takes no prisoners other than the fact that he is a prisoner himself. So it was probably the wrong use of that phrase. But he's been having a go at Putin as long as he's been in long trousers. And so this documentary basically tells you everything about the attempted murder of Navalny and where the story has got to. And I was very lucky last night to go to the screening in town with two of the producers, two women who were with him all the way through this process. And of course, the whole time that they thought that the Russian Secret Service were probably watching them, that their own lives may have been under threat whilst they were making this extraordinary film. And all I can say is you've just got to see it. It's been out now for 6 months. I really should have seen it 6 months ago and didn't. It's simply called Navalny, and it's on the BBC iPlayer. So if you haven't seen it and you want something that plays out like a thriller, because it is indeed a thriller. So Navalny tries to track down the people who attempted to murder him. He then gets a range of characters and then he phones them one by one. And I'm not going to tell you any more than that because it's so electrifyingly good that it's buoyant. It depresses you on the one hand, but it also gives you a complete faith in somebody else's humanity and wanting to do the right thing. I completely fell in love with Navalny. So do watch it if you can, whatever your politics are. It tells you so much about what's going on in the world that we shouldn't really ignore. So that would be my first recommendation for this weekend if you've got a spare 2 hours.
That sounds good. We're living in a world where the big news is being swept under the carpet while everyone's worrying about pronouns, and Virgin Airlines is getting all their... I can't even go there. I really can't be bothered, but I won't fly them again on principle. On principle, because of their nonsense.
What have they done? I haven't heard the Virgin.
Virgin Airlines.
They're ditching. Yes, they're ditching
Virgin
their
Airlines
gender,
means
their gender uniforms.
So the guys can turn up in dresses and fly the planes, and I just can't go there.
Okay.
I
did see the photograph of the new Virgin uniforms, but actually I didn't see a dress for men.
Oh no! Watch the advert. Watch the advert. It's
right.
I would say that, look, I understand if you want to do it so that it's a uniform that men and women can wear, then I can almost understand that. But don't start going around just on principle saying, men can wear skirts if you want. For God's
This is just wokeism for the sake of it. And you know what? They lost a fortune last year, and this year, a lot of people will say, "Screw this! I'm not doing this," because you got so many other choices. I'm sorry, you don't want all this shoved down your throat. It's okay, but don't shove it down your throat. What is
bad enough
fascinating?
shoving airline food down your throat.
Well, yeah, precisely so. Yeah, the Nord Stream 1 and the Nord Stream 2. You've been following this. This is serious. You see, this is serious stuff. People are moaning about, pronouns, and they don't see what's going on. Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2 were sabotaged.
They were.
And people are saying, oh, it's Putin. It was Putin. Putin makes his billions from pumping the gas to Europe. Why would he blow up his own pipeline? All he's got to do is switch it off. If he doesn't want to give the support, doesn't want to give the supply, he just turns it off. Doesn't need to blow it up. Biden and one of Biden's top people, and I've watched the videos, are on record. They're saying, we're going to stop this. How will you do it? Trust me, it will be done. Those are Biden's words. So you got that happening with more methane being released in the atmosphere than all the cows on the planet put together, and me and my little car driving around, and they're driving us mad about saving the planet, but they're quite happy with industrial sabotage to release more methane into the atmosphere that has probably been done in the last 10 years or 20 years. And then you got Putin, who I will take a bet, following on from your documentary, will use a battlefield nuke very soon. I'm convinced he will. I'm convinced he will do it. Convinced of it, because he's got nothing to lose, and there won't be any retaliation because you can't. So I love this segment because it takes us out of what's really going on. And if we could just,
well, it did.
If we could just, but it behooves me. This is, we talk about mental health. This is what goes through my head. This is why I'm in a state of anger and rage and annoyance that we worry about Holly and Phil. I couldn't give two monkeys about either of them, quite frankly. They don't impact on my life. but any more than I do on theirs. But this is the real stuff that goes on. And so when Chantal brings up a documentary like that, it just is a sort of aid memoir to me to occasionally touch on the real things that I actually care about.
Well, there we are. Well, I'll give you a bit of escapism.
Yeah, follow on from that, Chantal.
Well, I've got such a mixed bag this week. So, new drama on ITV called Karen Pirie. She's Scottish. It's based in St Andrews. She's a young police officer with no issues, no problems, no broken marriage, no broken home, no broken anything. She's fabulous. And you're going, okay, there's going to be...
She's not an alcoholic?
No, she's not.
What
an
the
alcoholic.
hell?
She doesn't take drugs. She's got a sort of on-off boyfriend. She's like a regular girl, and I'm thinking, oh well, this is refreshing. Somebody sort of actually quite normal. And she's a copper in St Andrews, and she gets given a cold case. And you hear somebody say right at the beginning, this probably should be done by a woman because of the optics. So you're thinking, okay, that didn't sit terribly well with me. What's the point here? But of course, we find out later on why particularly she's given this 25-year-old case of a young woman who was a barmaid who had been murdered the night of a party where 3 medical students had found her in a graveyard. Not 3 medical students, 3 students from St Andrews University. One is a medic, one is an artist, and I can't remember what the other one does. But basically, the cold case is everything. And it's no longer a cold case. The minute that she starts looking into it, the history comes straight back into present day, and the story continues. And actually, it's 3 2-hours. So again, it's a sort of easy thing to watch over a weekend, if that's what you want to do. It's extremely well done. It's been praised by everybody. I don't think anybody has written a bad review about it and saying that this is one of the dramas that they hope will continue. And it's a really, really good new...
Is that Val McDermott, isn't it?
It's Val McDermott,
Yeah.
exactly, the Scottish crime writer.
And Val McDermott is one of the writers of the new short story anthology of Miss Marple, which I'm going through at the moment, authorised by the Cashmere Commission and Agatha Christie estate. And they're fantastic. They've taken the top crime writers in the UK and let them rewrite Miss Marple stories.
Such a good idea.
They're really, really good and written with enormous respect to the original template.
Brilliant. And are they trying to write it as she would have written it, or are they trying to write their own story with a different, with a different flair or a different timeline?
They're bringing their individual talents as writers to the story, but it remains very true to the original. So there's nothing where you think, oh, come on, don't do this. Don't do a Virgin Airlines on it. They haven't. They've respected the source material and the history of Miss Marple and Agatha Christie and her estate. And they've written 10 cracking good new short stories. They're really good.
Interesting. Oh, well, that will definitely be worth looking out for. Okay, so now I have got a viewer recommendation, and I'm hoping that Ramsey is there because I know that he sent you a text or an email earlier on in the show, and I'm hoping he's still there. So Ramsey kindly reached out to me after last week's show to ask me if I'd seen a fantastic new comedy on Netflix called Mo, just M-O. Mo short for Mohammed. I hadn't seen it. I didn't know anything about it. And I thought, okay, I'm going to have a look. And it's rather nice when, a viewer comes back and thinks that I might like something. And actually, he got me bang on because this was completely up my street. It's a very, very good comedy. It's partly based on the story of a young man from Kuwait who comes to America to find a life here with his family and is waiting for asylum, is going through the asylum process and has been here for 22 years in Houston, Texas, waiting to become an American.
Sorry, how long?
22 years.
You got to give these things time, you see.
Got to give these things time. There's quite a lot of red tape in America, let me tell you. I never even applied for a green card, let alone anything else. I just had a simple visa, but that was bad enough. Anyway, this lovely character. He's clearly he's got a Kuwaiti mother who is very traditional and obviously a Middle Eastern mother. But he is growing up and has grown up in America. He's got a girlfriend who's Mexican. She comes from a Catholic family. He's a fabulous sort of super salesman. He's like, do you remember that guy, the £10, no, the £1 fish guy from the market in the East End?
Hell,
He's a
that
bit
was
like that.
awful.
He's got the gift of the gab and he can sell anything. And so that's the basic story, but it's incredibly well written. And it tells you, just like we were saying, so much more about what's going on in the world and about how different people find the world and how people find each other. And it's just beautifully done. He is an incredibly good actor. He was an actor I just didn't know. He's called Mo Amer, and he's a Palestinian American comic. But it is partly based on his own history. And it's a lovely half-hour comedy series, and I'm sure there'll be a second series because this is really, really accomplished writing. It's good.
Moving on from asylum seeking, etc., which this comedy is about, I caught a film this week again. It's called simply Monsters. Monsters.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. It had a budget of about, it's an English film, but it's all shot in South America, Central America, and then America. And it had a budget of about 3 and 6, literally. And what they've done with this
so quite a big budget then.
Yeah, this director has made this movie with no budget, and it's fantastic. And he's used in a lot of the scenes locals. It almost wasn't scripted. And you think, boy, they're good actors and actresses. That's what a terrific little scene. And you realize they were just kind of talking. It's really clever. And and the premise is a space probe went out. They found signs of life on one of the moons of Jupiter. I think it was Io. It comes back, but it breaks up in the atmosphere, and it breaks up over Mexico. Right. And then stuff lands, and you think, oh, it's going to be a month. You know, you're going to go down. There's a terrific twist, and it's very clever, and it's just called Monsters.
And it was on Netflix.
Yep, on Netflix.
Okay. Well, Mo is on Netflix too. Thank you, Ramsey. And thank you, Russ, because actually I'll look out for Monsters too. Okay, so now I'm going to drag us back to very much modern day. And the show that everybody's talking about this week is the Kenneth Branagh playing Boris Johnson in a 6-part series called This England. And it basically takes the first sort of 3 months of the COVID crisis. And actually, I felt, people talk about triggering these days and what's triggered you. And actually, going back through that time, being taken back with lots of real life footage in this drama about how Boris tackles the COVID crisis, I felt quite triggered by it. It suddenly took me back to that moment at the beginning of 2020 where we all thought we were going to die. We were all cleaning cardboard boxes and washing avocados and just going crazy. And, the world clearly became a sort of a slightly bonkers place for a long time. Anyway, this is very well done. It's had varying reviews. The Guardian hated it and the Times loved it. So if you take a sort of middle line, I think where you come out is going, Kenneth Branagh is brilliant as Boris Johnson. You forget very quickly that you're watching an actor. The Matt Hancock character is wonderful. The Dominic Cummings character is wonderful. And you get completely sucked in. It was rather like that wonderful drama.
Can't help but feel that the characters in that case are not true to the real life people.
You feel as though they are absolutely true to life. You feel as though you suddenly get to know Carrie Antoinette. And you get to know what Matt Hancock is really like. And you get to know what Dominic Cummings is really like. The dialogue is incredibly good. And you sort of get it. You just think, yeah, I bet that's how the conversation was going inside Number 10.
I would like to stress as well that anything the Guardian hates, typically speaking, I love. So I will be watching this. But anyway.
Right. It's 6 hours. The first episode, I thought, I'm not going to like this. I didn't really like the real life bits being dropped in to the drama, but actually you get very used to it. And what is very clever about it, it isn't just a sort of, buffoon portrayal of Boris for this 3-month period. It's juxtaposed with really, really sensitive pieces about people in care homes, about people in hospitals, about people missing their loved ones. And the counterbalance actually works. I didn't think it was going to at the beginning, and then you get used to it. And then you see why he's put it into the film, into the 6 episodes. So it's out now. It's on Sky. It came out only 2 or 3 days ago, and I've watched all 6.
How do you feel when they make dramas purporting to be, I'm trying to do this, it's like The Crown. The Crown is drama. We weren't there. The scriptwriters sure as hell weren't in the room with the royal family. And I think it was King Charles who said, fine, but put up a disclaimer at the front that this isn't a documentary, it's a drama, Any more than CSI Miami is a documentary about forensic scientists, it's a drama. Maybe some of it's true, maybe some of it isn't. And it's kind of the same with what I would imagine Kenneth Branagh's done here. I think he's a great actor, but I hated his Poirot films with a vengeance, but that's just me.
Yeah, me too.
I thought they were terrible. Slow and dull and boring and not staying true to the source. But how do you feel about
you'll
that?
Tell us what you really think.
No, but if you're going to do it, why trash something that's been done to death? Why do Murder in the Orient Express again? Don't need to do it. We've done it.
The only thing I can think of is just it's sort of a case of putting your own spin on it. But don't get me wrong, you don't need to put your own spin on most of these things. But I think that's the thought process. But,
I get that.
I think with this particular series, the stories about how the Cummings thing happened and what Cummings was like in the office and what Matt Hancock was like in the office, they've used lots of sources. So it feels very authentic, and it is indeed supposed to be authentic. Clearly, when there are bedroom scenes with Boris and Carrie, forgive me, one doesn't quite know what's going on, and one isn't, party to their...
Oh, come now, Chantal. I think we do know what's going on.
That is me off my lunch. I'm done. Oh, dear God.
It was a very good young actress playing Carrie. And it's sort of interesting to see the relationship that we never normally see. So that is probably full of fabrication. But Boris actually comes out of it reasonably well, which I think is why The Guardian hated it so much. But it's worth watching. It is worth watching. Anyway.
And where was it again? Sorry?
It's on Sky, 6 parts on Sky. A lot of money's been spent on it. And it takes you... they put it to bed, effectively, just when Partygate was breaking out. So the whole Partygate thing isn't really included in it, and you don't know, there's no flashback to, oh, well, now Boris is out of government. So it just takes that sort of 3-month period and stops there. And then in the credit roll, it updates with what happened later. But anyway, I thought it was good, and it'll certainly get nominated for lots of awards. Whether it wins them or not, I'm not sure. But Ken Branagh is excellent.
Any quickfire suggestions?
Quickfire, I've watched episode 1. I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to watch episode 2, but I think I probably will, because it's got David Tennant and Stanley Tucci in, and it's a new drama on the BBC. It's only a 4-parter called Inside Man. And it's 2 rather weird stories. One, David Tennant's a vicar in England. Ooh. And Stanley Tucci is a professor of criminology who is on death row in America because he has murdered his wife. But he also solves crimes. I'm not quite sure where the 2 are going to intersect at the moment, which is what's probably going to keep me watching. And if I had to choose one or the other, I'd probably think that the Stanley Tucci character as a criminologist in jail is a more interesting character. But we'll see. So I've got 3 more episodes to go, but it's BBC. It started 2 nights ago, and it's called Inside Man.
Marvelous stuff.
God,
Thank you, Chantal.
There's so much stuff in so little time. Screen Queen, Chantal Rickards OBE. Thank you, as always. That's all we've got time for this week. That is it. Phil, our condolences to you, to your mum Linda, and to your dad Ray. And your
Thank you.
sister, whose name I don't know because I can't
Steph,
ever remember.
but Steph was not.
I can never remember.
Close to.
There we go. I'm so sorry, and thank you for sharing. That was an important thing. Chantal, have a wonderful weekend.
And
Phil,
you too.
do your best. Everybody else, try and stay out of trouble. I'll be back on Monday. Phil will be back and with Chantal next Friday. Until then, take care.
Bye.